Bitcoin as a hedging asset to kind of help investors maintain its purchasing power, their savings growth over time. We think Bitcoin can be a phenomenal tool for Latin America, for Brazil in particular.
One of the most compelling points Josh makes is about the role Bitcoin can play in emerging markets, particularly Latin America. This is a region plagued by inflation, volatile capital markets, and weak banking systems. For investors and everyday savers alike, Bitcoin can act as a tool to preserve purchasing power and grow savings over time. In the US, investors have multiple ways to gain exposure to Bitcoin. ETFs, mining companies, trading platforms, and even corporate treasuries holding BTC. But in Latin America, those options are limited. This creates an opportunity for new investment vehicles that bring institutional-grade Bitcoin exposure to markets like Brazil.
I think the key thing is to look at things in a short-term perspective and in a long-term perspective. And the last couple of weeks have actually been quite interesting for Bitcoin. There's been no shortage of macroeconomic news that's come through the rates market. And that was also coupling up with a huge options expiry date, some deleveraging that we saw in the space as well. And in my eyes, it weathered all of that extremely well. We were doing this, conversation just a month ago. We'd be talking about all-time highs. It's really kind of treaded sideways since those days. And that causes me to kind of look things in the big term, in the long term. Long term, we've seen an excellent return year to date. We've seen a phenomenal return over the last year, and certainly the history of Bitcoin going back through 2011 augurs well. So we think the long-term trend is in place. And the short term, it weathered this test extraordinarily well, is the need for Bitcoin in the region. This is a part of the world that's experienced inflation, that's had more volatile capital markets overall. And so Bitcoin as a hedging asset to kind of help investors maintain its purchasing power, their savings growth over time. We think Bitcoin can be a phenomenal tool for Latin America, for Brazil in particular. The second thing is here in the US, we've seen a number of Bitcoin options come to investors. We've got mining companies, we've got treasury companies like you've described. We've got trading platforms. There's a number of ways to kind of invest in the ecosystem. And in Latin America, there really hasn't been, So we believe that we're bringing a great option for investors, be it institutional or retail, that want to participate in this ecosystem to invest in the ecosystem. You brought it up in the right framework. First of all, it's to have the basic exposure. We think Bitcoin can be accretive to a number of investor portfolios. So the first order when thinking about things as an investor is that basic exposure, be it owning the coin directly, owning it by an ETF or what have you. Now, we happen to believe that the Treasury model is a better model. We believe that we can grow as a company, we can expand. To your previous question, we can also provide quite a bit of education so people can really understand the asset well and decide how to use it within their portfolios. So the first order operations in our mind is A, learn about the asset, B, get exposure however it feels right for you. And then beyond that, we think the Treasury company is a great way to do so.
Now, do you expect consolidation among the so-called DATs? Because so many have come to market this year, is there room for all of them, or do you expect fewer to exist in the short to medium term?
That's a great question. I wish I had the crystal ball to really answer that question well. What it reminds me of is a little bit of all the innovation we saw in the 1990s when the internet was a new thing, a lot of what we're seeing in AI today. And what you've seen is, yes, the technology is real. Yes, it's got huge value for society. And then you see all sorts of business models kind of come up around it as the innovation kind of appears in the space. And then time will tell, right, as to which ones were really built to stand the test of time, which ones should merge together and become even stronger. So I can't give you a clean answer as to which ones will survive, which ones won't. I believe the business model is extraordinarily strong and we will see winners into the future. But for right now, I think the phase that we're in is kind of surfacing the innovation itself and providing a lot of kind of investor choice to back the investment model and make sense to whichever investor is considering whichever DAT.
And we focus a lot on the U.S. here on Crypto World, but what are some of the biggest advancements in the crypto space this year not happening stateside? What might have been lost in the focus on the U.S. regulation and adoption?
Well, you just hit the big one. Actually, I think the biggest innovation is actually here in the U.S., and that's been the regulatory acceptance of crypto here in the work in the regulatory space to kind of bring crypto here. I saw the vice president speak at Bitcoin Las Vegas, and he made a powerful point that really stuck with me. And that is, this space is going to develop. It's going to develop all over the world, as you're bringing up. And the U.S. should basically be positioned so that it can develop here as well. So, I think the big story has really been the U.S. story and kind of bringing it in. And then secondarily, countries such as Brazil that are welcoming companies such as Orange BTC, the development of other Treasury companies in France, in the UK, clearly Metaplanet in Japan. Globalizing this, it's akin to me as if banks were a new thing and we were seeing capital markets kind of begin to assemble their national champions, if you will. So I think the combination of that regulatory acceptance here in the U.S. and the expansion of these capital markets all across the world, that's the big story to me.
Eric also makes a more nuanced point. Stablecoins could actually save the U.S. dollar's status as the world's reserve currency. In countries plagued by 1,000% inflation, citizens can instantly convert their wages into a USD-pegged stablecoin backed by treasuries, like his company's USD one, and preserve their wealth. In his view, crypto isn't about undermining the dollar. It's about globalizing demand for US-denominated assets and attracting trillions of dollars from people who don't trust their governments or banks, but still want dollar stability.
Well, Charles, I had the epiphany. I think you saw it, and you probably reported on it better than anybody when I got debanked by everyone. I mean, Capital One sent me a letter in the middle of the night stripping 300 bank accounts from, golf courses and hotels, our properties as well as anyway, for doing absolutely nothing wrong. And then all of a sudden I started meeting people in the crypto space and I realized how brilliant they were. I realized how antiquated modern finance is. Laura and I went out to buy a house, right? When we got financing, because the rates under my father were like 2.1%. It took me 120 days to get a mortgage from a bank that I had banked with literally for 25 years. Right, because they had to go through know your customer. I'm saying they're saying, this is crazy. Every single week, I'm chasing a Swift wire transfer, payment that's coming into one of the hotels or leaving one of the hotels. And if you don't send it by 4 o'clock on a Friday, it's not getting there until like Monday afternoon. And you're sitting there saying, why can I send hundreds of millions of dollars worth of Bitcoin overseas instantly or receive it instantly with virtually no fees? Bitcoin's the way of the future. American Bitcoin, which is the company that I founded, I'm very, very proud of. I think it's going to be one of the great Bitcoin companies anywhere in the world. And clearly, there's no doubt in my mind, cryptocurrency is going to replace traditional finance, TradFi, and it's happening so fast. I mean, cryptocurrency is literally outpacing, the growth of the internet, in the 90s, Charles. And I've never been so clear about something. I've never been able to see something so clearly in my life, and it's been a lot of fun to be a part of this. Yeah, definitely. In terms of stable coins, 100%. I mean, in terms of Bitcoin, Bitcoin is digital gold, just as better, right? I mean, There's a limited supply. Charles, if gold ever goes to $10,000 an ounce, you and I will bust down the walls of the building you're in right now. We'll find gold in that concrete, right? You can always find more supply if the price goes up. And with Bitcoin, there will never be 21 million and one Bitcoin. There will be 21 million. So it's finite. Every family in the world wants it. Every Fortune 500 company is starting to custody it. So it's gold, but you can actually transport it. How do you cash out gold? You take it down to the local pawn shop and, they melt it down. It's not practical. I mean, at 11 o'clock on a Saturday night while having, dinner with your wife, you can sell it. It's 24 hours. It has immediate liquidity. It's one of the greatest assets of our time. In terms of saving the dollar, there's no question. But in terms of, stable coins is saving the dollar. Listen, I'm the first one to bash our system because I've been on the receiving end of it, but we are the best financial system anywhere in the world. Nobody wants to be on the euro. No one wants to be on any of the Asian currencies. No one wants to be on any of the South American currencies. Guess what everybody in the world wants? They want the US dollar because we've got the reserve currency of the world. Imagine if you were living in a country in Africa or in South America, right, and you have 1,000% inflation a year. The second you get your paycheck, congratulations, it's gone. You may as well burn that money. Now, all of a sudden, what you can do is you can immediately transfer into, call it USD1, which is our stable coin, and you can be pegged exactly 1-to-1 with the US dollar on US Treasury. So you have got that security blanket. So when I always say that I think cryptocurrency saves the dollar and make sure it's a reserve currency indefinitely, it's the fact that we're going to attract trillions of dollars from all over the world and people who do not trust their governments, do not trust their financial systems, do not trust their banks, and want to hold U.S.-denominated currency, which is what stablecoins do so well. So Bitcoin is the digital gold. I think it's the greatest asset of our time, going up 70% a year, year over year. And I think at American Bitcoin, we do it better than anybody. We're mining it at 50-cent dollar to obviously the cost of Bitcoin, which is about $114,000 right now. But on the stablecoin side, I really do believe it ensures that the U.S. dollar remains the reserve currency of the world.
So you made headlines recently with a call, Bitcoin surpassing 1 million. Everyone gets giddy and excited about that, but I've seen targets much higher. So the question is, how soon and what exactly will it take to get it there?
Well, listen, I mean, the floodgates are opening, right? For the first time, Schwab is custodying, Bitcoin. Fidelity is custodying Bitcoin. I'll never forget. I signed into a Fidelity account not too long ago. The first thing that pops up is this little icon. Would you like to create a Fidelity digital asset wallet? And I said yes. I literally clicked yes on it, and all of a sudden you could buy Bitcoin on there. You look at what Chase is doing. You look at what all the major banks are doing, right? I mean, all of a sudden you're no longer trying to do, buy Bitcoin using a ledger and using DeFi. You can literally buy it through spot ETFs for the first time, and every bank is custodying it. I mean, we are on the 1 yard line of cryptocurrency, and we've got another whole field to run, as explosive as it's been. So I do think it hits $1 million eventually. I've never been more bullish on anything in my life. And listen, Charles, I was telling everybody to buy it when it was at 40,000, and here we sit at 115,000. Right. I'm more bullish on it today because of the legislation in this country, and because of how widely adopted it's been. And I can tell you, I talk to the biggest companies, the biggest families in the world, and every single one of them is racing to buy Bitcoin. So American Bitcoin, I'm incredibly proud of, and I think it's gonna be one of the great companies in the country, in my opinion.
Eric, you've got a new book coming out soon, Under Siege: My Family's Fight to Save Our Nation. By the way, I think the title is an understatement, to be quite frank with you. But on one hand, you just mentioned the government, your father's administration, on the Genius Act, all the things that they've done to speed up, to bring to fruition the potential that was always there for crypto, but was always in question, no longer in question. But it sounds like more than just taking a mantle with respect to Bitcoin and stablecoin and those things. Maybe the family's prepared to also grab the baton from your father. Are you positioning for that as well?
I'm not, Charles. Listen, you and I know each other very well. I've developed a good voice, I think, in the political sphere because I didn't have a choice. Our family, we didn't have anybody that supported us. We went on that stage and we fought like hell because we love this country. We love the American flag. Our Constitution was under siege. Our First Amendment was under siege. They tried to destroy us. It's the whole point of the book, right? Of Under Siege. They tried to destroy my father. They tried to destroy our family. They just tried to destroy the movement. I became the most subpoenaed person in American history. They turned off our voice, the gag orders, the bans from Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, the Russia hoax, taking us off the ballots in every single state, raiding Mar-a-Lago. I mean, I could go on and on, deplatforming us, debanking us, which is how I got into crypto in the first place. They lay siege to us. And then they tried to kill my father once, and then they tried to kill him again at the golf course in Florida. Right. Then they killed our friend Charlie. They've put our movement under siege. And we won. Despite all of it, we won. And I'm incredibly proud of that fight, and I'm incredibly proud of the voice I had during that fight, and I'm incredibly proud of my father, who has made transformational change. And we still live in the greatest country in the world.
Josh sees a global hedge against inflation and a Treasury company model for investors. Eric sees digital gold, a lifeline for the US dollar, and a new financial system that's faster, fairer, and harder to weaponize.